morning students. So today computer system architecture lectures, we will start with a new chapter called input output systems. Okay. So here we will discuss about the IO interface, what are IO devices, why do we need a IO interface in order to communicate with the core system, that is the CPU and the memory unit of a computer, and we will discuss about various modes of data transfers between IO devices and the memory in computer. Okay, what are the various modes through which we can transfer data from IO to memory, and lastly we will discuss about the IO processor. Okay, why there is a need of a separate IO processor apart from CPU. Okay, so first of all, what is input output? What is IO? See, input output means the devices, the peripheral devices through which we can see output, we can print output, through which output can be visualized, or we can provide input to the system externally. Okay, so what is IO? IO are the peripheral devices. Peripheral means that are not part of the integrated system, but we can attach and detach. So what are the various IO devices? I am just revising all this. You have learned all this already in computer application. IO devices are, we have output devices and we have input devices as well. Input devices. So what are these devices? Output devices, we have monitor, isn't it? Printer. These are the output devices through which we can see output. Plotter. Then we have input devices like mouse, through which we can give, it's an external thing, isn't it? We can plug it, we can connect it through wired or wireless way. Then we have mouse, through which we can give input. We have keyboard. Okay, these are the things, joysticks. These are the things which are input devices. So these are the IO systems you can see. Now, what is an IO interface is the question. Okay, how do these devices, these peripheral devices connect with the system? System means CPU, memory. Okay, what is a computer system? First of all, let's recall everything so that everything is fresh in front of you, and then we can start our discussion. So what is a computer? First of all, computer system. There is a CPU. Okay, it is connected with an internal bus. Internal bus. It's connected with what? There is a IO, isn't it? Which we call input output system. Then we have memory. Okay, this is what more or less a computer system looks like. We have CPU, we have memory, and we have IO. Okay, now what we are learning today, what is the specifics of our learning today is how this IO communicates with this entire system. How both of these are communicating? That's the question. How this system communicates with this system. That is the topic of discussion. Okay, and why there is a need of such a interaction. See, why do we need an interface? Interface means the middle person that helps in this interaction. The interaction of IO with the computer and the computer with the IO. Let's say I will call this processor and memory, because we have two entities here, processor and memory. The communication of processor and memory with IO is what is our discussion. Why there is a need of communication first of all? Okay, the communicating entity, the middleman is what we call as the interface. Okay, what is an interface? Interface is the middle thing that enables that communication. Okay, so why there is a need of IO interface is the question. Why there is a need of IO interface? What is the need of IO it works with a definite clock. Okay. So there are clock pulses according to which the processor has its speed. The speed is determined. Now I/O speed will not be the same because this is totally external entities like pen drive, external memory, CPU, keyboard. The input from keyboard depends upon human. It is human dependent. Suppose my speed of typing may be different from another person. Someone may type very slow, someone may type very fast. So data from I/O devices, okay, is much slower than the processor speed. Okay, so CPU is much faster than I/O devices. So in order to maintain that, in order to facilitate the communication between two mismatched entities, there is a need for I/O interface. Okay, this I/O interface takes care that how communication will take place between the slow I/O devices and the fast CPU devices efficiently. Okay, without losing the essence of a computing system. Okay, so with maintaining that, the interface takes care of everything. That's why we have an interface in place. Because if these are directly connected, then CPU will be, mostly idle. Because it is very fast and I/O is very slow. If CPU works according to I/O, then the system will be completely inefficient. Okay? You won't be solving complex solution within microseconds in computer then. So you can say the computer will behave same as human. So there will be no difference. It won't be eligible to be called as a computing system. So that's why there is a need of I/O interface. But at the same time, we want external devices. We want human interaction with computer as well. So to facilitate that, we have a I/O interface in place. Okay. So that is the need of I/O interface. Okay. Now the question comes, how data is transferred from I/O device for computation? See, whatever data we are giving, it is for computation only by CPU. Okay. If we are giving addition of two numbers, two large numbers, the addition of two numbers is computed by the computing system. But the numbers is provided through I/O devices, through the keyboard, isn't it? We type the numbers and then the system does the computation and gives you with an answer through output device or monitor. Okay, this is what we are accustomed to. Okay, so that's how we have to give the input, but our speed is mismatching. So there is a need for I/O interface. And how data is processed? How data is processed is the question. When we are giving the data to the input devices, how data is, getting stored in memory, this memory, and how CPU is computing, fetching the operands and doing its thing. You know how operation is done. Okay, we have already studied how instructions are being carried out. That is part of this thing. But now we are understanding how the data is taken from user. Okay, how it is getting transferred. So there are basically three modes of transfer. Okay. Modes of data transfer. What are the modes of data transfer? How data is transferred? So there is basically three types of data transfer from the I/O device to the computer. Computer means memory. Okay, because data is transferred and stored in memory only. Okay, when processor processes it, it may use some its internal memory called registers. Registers are part of CPU, but memory is actually the computer's memory is where the data is stored. So how from I/O the data is stored in memory? There are three ways of doing it. So there are three modes of data transfer from I/O to computer memory. One is program driven I/O. Program driven. Okay. Second one is interrupt driven. And third one is DMA, direct memory access. from memory, from IO to memory, and from memory to IO, we can see, to project it to the output devices. Okay. So there are three modes of data transfer, and each time we take the input from IO, then it goes to CPU, then it goes to memory. This is the path. In interrupt driven also, we take input from IO devices, then it goes to CPU, then it goes to memory. But as the name suggests, in direct memory access, in DMA what happens is, we take directly input from IO and we directly access the computer memory. There is no intervene of CPU. That is the thing to remember. We will study each of these in greater detail, don't worry. But first you understand that here we take input from IO, then there is a part of CPU, there is a role of CPU. After that, the data reaches to the memory. In interrupt driven as well, input is taken from IO, then CPU does something, it has its role, CPU has some role, after which, after CPU is done with its part, then the data is stored in memory. But in DMA, direct memory access, input from IO is directly stored into memory without the interference of CPU. Okay? So these are the three important mode of data transfer. Okay? So firstly, we will discuss today about program driven, mode of transfer. Okay? So we will discuss now about program driven mode of transfer. Program driven. Now what happens in program driven is, whenever a IO device is ready, suppose this is keyboard. Okay, whenever a IO device is ready, you print, suppose you are giving an input 8. Okay, now there is a program which will, always make sure that whenever, it keeps on waiting, busy waiting program, the program takes input, okay, and and stores data in memory, and the program is run by CPU. The program is run by, this entire program is run by CPU processor. So program driven means the CPU will be busy running the program until and unless it gets an input. So the program will take how much time? It will run in microseconds. But user will give input in how much time? In seconds. Okay. So there is a great mismatch, isn't it? The program continuously asks for input, and when the input is given 8, then only the CPU will store the data in memory. Stores the data in memory. The CPU will store the data in memory when program is ready. So until and unless you give an input, it will busy wait. The CPU cycle will keep on asking that give me the data, give me the data, give me the data. And when you will press it, then only the data will be sent. The entire program is executed by what? CPU, the processor, and it will eventually get stored in the memory. This is how it works. But it is very inefficient. Why? Because CPU functions in microsecond. Executing a program takes microsecond. It takes so much less time. But giving a data takes seconds. Takes time in second. We may click a data, it will take 1 second, isn't it usually? Or if you want to give 2-3 inputs, it will take 3 to 4-5 the making a program, making a program run for 4 to 5 seconds, the entire program run, we are misusing CPU. Misusing CPU because CPU time is getting wasted waiting for the user. Don't you think? Here, CPU time is getting wasted on running that program waiting for the user. That program will continuously run until and unless the user gives the input. So, there is a wastage of CPU cycle. Wastage of CPU cycle. Okay, so that's why program driven is very inefficient way of data transfer. So program driven IO is actually one of the inefficient way of data transfer. Why? Because here a program is run by CPU which continuously waits for the user to give input. When the user gives the input, then it is sent to the memory or stored in memory. This is how it works. But a program may run in microseconds. It may take very less time. But given waiting, that CPU keeping waiting for the user to give input in seconds is wrong. It is completely wasting CPU time because we may take 3 to 4 seconds to give some inputs, but continuously for 3 to 4 seconds making the processor busy running that program waiting for your input is totally inefficient. Okay, so that's why program driven IO is one of the inefficient method, and this waiting time is enumerated in the next mode, that is interrupt driven mode. In interrupt driven mode, we eliminate this inefficiency. How? Because the CPU doesn't run some program which will be waiting for user to give input. Here CPU is busy doing its other program, other thing, and whenever the input is available at the IO devices, then an interrupt is generated, and the interrupt asks the CPU that CPU, the data is ready. Now you can leave whatever you are doing and you can address my thing. Now the data is ready. You can take the data and store it in memory. This is how interrupt driven works. Okay. In interrupt driven IO, CPU doesn't concern with or waits for the user to give input. CPU does its thing. It usually, whatever work is there, CPU is busy doing that work. Whenever the data is ready from IO side, an interrupt is generated. When the interrupt is generated, then only CPU leaves whatever it was doing and it takes the IO data, that is the data from the IO, and it stores in memory, and then it resumes its work. Whatever it was earlier doing, it will get back to it. This is how interrupt driven work. So we will see interrupt driven IO again. Interrupt driven IO. What happens in interrupt driven IO is, see, suppose this is keyboard, IO device. Okay. Now this is CPU, this is memory, these are connected, this is the entire system suppose, and this is our devices. Now here what happens is CPU, there is no program which will wait for, no program runs which waits for user, which waits for IO. IO means user, because user gives data to IO devices. So speed of IO depends upon the speed of user, isn't it? Common sense. Okay. So here there is no such program which waits for IO. What happens is CPU is busy doing its own work. CPU deals with other work. When IO is ready, suppose 8 is now given as input. CPU doesn't wait for 8 to come up. It does its own thing. CPU deals with other program. When IO is ready, interrupt is generated. Interrupt is generated. An interrupt is generated. INTR signal. An interrupt signal is generated and it reaches CPU. Then CPU will understand that okay, now the data is ready. I need to take the data and store it in memory. Simple. So when interrupt signal is generated, CPU decides that okay, now the IO device is ready with its data. I'll simply take the data and store it in memory. So CPU simply transfers data to memory. This process is called ISR, Interrupt Service Routine. That means doing servicing the interrupt. When data is ready, the IO device generated the interrupt and CPU then does what? It runs ISR. ISR means servicing the request. Okay, interrupt service request. ISR means interrupt service request. So how does it service the request? By doing whatever it was supposed to do. That is, it will store the data in the memory. It will transfer the data in the memory. Okay, so this is called interrupt driven IO. So this mode of transfer is called interrupt driven mode. Okay, so the data transfer is done through interrupts. The data transfer is done through interrupts. Okay, so this was about program driven IO and interrupt driven IO. In the next class, we will see the third and most important mode of transfer, that is the direct memory access. Here we do not have CPU in the middle. CPU has no role here. Here directly from IO devices, the data is transferred to memory. Okay. So if you have any doubt with these two mode of data transfer or anything related to anything CSA for that matter, then you can post it in the comment section or you can reach me through WhatsApp. Okay. Thank you.